Hello YouTubers, this is Cessnaace back again with another video game pickup video. Went up into Georgia to Game Over today and picked up a number of games. I had to go up there anyway because I'd gone just a little over a week ago, and when I got home the cases for the PlayStation and Dreamcast games that I bought didn't have any discs in them. So I had called them back and they apologized, and then they put the discs aside and I picked them up when I went up there today, along with more games. While I was up there, I picked up an issue of the newly reborn GameFan magazine. This is issue 5. This is like the original except on steroids. I say that because it's bigger than the original, even though the original was quite big itself. Like the original, this covers multiple platforms of the current generation, plus retro, plus PC, plus they cover anime, and the original GameFan also covered arcade games, so hopefully they'll do that. Now that we have GameFan back and Electronic Gaming Monthly back, maybe we can get Next Gen back. Now recently I announced a project that even on the surface of it sounds insane. That is that I am going back to collecting games for the Atari VCS and 2600. Even on the surface of it, that sounds insane because there were just so many games released for that system. Just in the US. Overseas, it's even more insane. This is the Digital Press prize guide that covers, or collector's guide that covers the systems of that era, including VCS. This is the 7th edition. In the 6th edition, they had listed in the non-US release section over 1,200 games. They've added 800 to make over 2,000. Plus the homebrew section is huge. And because the US market imploded so quickly back in around August of '83, there were a lot of publishers that were sitting on games that they suddenly couldn't release, either because no stores would take them or they didn't have the money to manufacture them. In any event, there's just a ton of games that were released. Peter Penguin from Home Vision. This is in the non-US section. A loaner or prototype in a Home Vision cartridge of this title was recently found. The dot matrix printed label just had the title and an interesting serial number 554373338, which is an ITT label and indicates a direct link between the two manufacturers. That's one of the interesting things about reading these collector guides is you get so much information out of them, including all the hardware. There were numerous clones of the VCS/2600. Some are authorized and some weren't. Most famously, the Coleco Gemini, which Atari promptly sued Coleco over, and the courts ruled that since there was nothing proprietary in the VCS, then Atari had no right to say you can't manufacture this because they have access to everything you had access to. All they had to do is go to any electronics provider to get the capacitors and so forth, processors, and they were good to go. But there were also some clone systems that were made by Atari for sale elsewhere. For example, they made consoles for Sears. They were made by Atari, but they say Sears on them. Likewise, they made an extremely rare, hard to find version for the Columbia House Video Game Club. If you find that, snap it up. Also, there was a version sold in Japan called the Atari 2800. And tons and tons and tons of systems released in Taiwan and Korea and Brazil and just all over the place. Anyway, this is from Activision. It looks like it's an early release from Activision. boxing. Has a copyright date of 1980 on it, and you can't read it, but because it's black over black, but in raised letters it says Activision. Okay, on the surface these two look like they were made by the same company, and maybe they were. One of the things about the 2600 is all the connections between various companies, some of which were out in the open and some of which weren't. Some were on the up and up and some weren't. This is from VidTech and is Space Jockey. For use with Atari Video Computer Systems or Sears Telegame. Now this game, which I sent a box copy to Xfile 2708 of this some time ago, and also some of the games that I had to Luke Morse 1 and to Gamer Jitsu. I was getting out of the 2600 at that time. I'm getting back in now. Anyway, this is Towering Inferno from US Games. US Games was a division of Quaker Oats. This game, published by VidTech released VC 1001, it's copyright 1982 by US Games. Even on the back, these cartridges are identical. They don't say anything on the back as to who manufactured them or where they were manufactured. But I went ahead and picked these up. The labels, I think, are in beautiful condition. Also picked up a game for the Nintendo Entertainment System, Caveman Games. Trying for a complete collection of this system as well, which is going to be just marginally less difficult than for the 2600. There were over 750 releases for the NES in the US and quite a few from non-licensed publishers. But then there are all the games that were released outside of the US that were exclusives to outside the US, and also all of the graphical hacks and so forth. To date, the NES dump offers 421 games on NTSC NES cartridges that were originally released for the Famicom and been converted and translated into English. Also, European exclusives and non-released prototypes and so forth. So 750 plus 421, plus there are still games being made for the 2600 for the NES, as this system is becoming popular among people making homebrew games. Same is true of the VCS. Section for rumor mill games is huge. This is the section for games that were announced but no copies have been confirmed found. And I noticed that a lot of them from Sega were announced in August and September of '83, either in magazines or elsewhere. For example, a game based on Dragon Slayer, another one that was set to be published by Atari based on Dune, one from 20th Century Fox called Dutch Elm Defender, and so forth. There's also long prototype section, homebrew section, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Rings, Mystery Science Theater 2600. Let's see, THX 1138, The Electronic Labyrinth. This Planet Sucks. That came out in 1998. Just so much out there. It's going to be impossible to get a complete VCS collection. But I'm going to go for it. Okay, for the Genesis, we have Spider-Man. We also have the Cap Attack. Also, Lotus 2. From Electronic Arts. One of Electronic Arts' funky Genesis cartridges. The Revenge of Shinobi. Which is complete. For the Saturn, we have what looks like a shmup. Heir of Zendor, The Legend in the Land. Which looks to be more or less complete, except it's missing a little foamy insert. But other than that, the case is in real nice shape, especially for a Saturn game. Okay. The PlayStation VIP, which features Pamela Anderson. This is one of the games that had no disc in it. This was actually undamaged. I got it home and dropped it. So it's my fault. Now this game is called X Games Pro Border. But for some reason, Game Over had it entered in their computer as ESPN Digital Games. Which to me seems like a boutique label, kind of like Sega Sports or EA Sports. Whatever. For the Dreamcast, Soldier of Fortune. Starting to get a healthy Dreamcast collection going. This is actually a duplicate copy of Iron Aces. But it was only like $3 or $4, so I hadn't got it. Conflict Zone. Armada. And Industrial Spy, Operation Espionage. Oops. This one's got broken teeth in the case. Should have remembered that. And then for the PlayStation 2, we have Jumper, which is complete. And we have Heavenly Guardian for the Wii, which is complete. I have games that I'm expecting for the 2600. Also a game for the Master System. Also I've got a Genesis homebrew on back order. Until next time, stay awesome.